Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Ugh. You know what? I had a hard time waking up today for whatever reason. I don't feel super great. Vital says I'm skipping trading today and in any other very uncertain day. How about you? Well, I don't feel very good about taking a trade, but I think that there should be some opportunities. I don't know. I'm going to think about it for a second here. Let's go through all of the instruments. Well, oil here first. We can see that they're kind of slowly coming up. So basically, the day yesterday started out, yay, or have a ceasefire, etc. And as the day wore on, traders saying, actually, this isn't going to hold. Like, this might not even hold the day. Like, do we have a ceasefire anymore? I mean, I think we do, but okay. Well, here's the treasuries. The treasuries, they got a good boost from it. I mean, they didn't completely retrace it. Although, I do think that at this point, the treasuries are more trying to price in, like, what inflation is going to be and what interest rates are going to be, rather than just reacting to oil now. Like, the treasuries have noticeably decoupled from everything else. If we have continued hostilities, you may yet see a situation where the treasuries just go, whoa, like really just skyrocket out of here, because they're saying now a recession is almost certain. Maybe we should talk about that a little bit later, huh? Okay, here's the S&P 500. It looks like they've mostly held their gains. Already looked at oil, gold, silver. All right, they're looking okay. There's a nice little gentle uptrend on those two. Okay. Kappa. Japanese yen. So Japanese yen also kind of, it says a little bit more like the treasuries. And Bitcoin, they gave up a little bit, but it's okay. Just pretty typical over there for Bitcoin. You know, the thing is, if you really think about it, it really seems to me that ever since we decided, not we, somebody in the Democrat Party decided that Joe Biden wasn't going to be president anymore. Right? At the same time, it was like, okay, that means that we have to have a recession. Because almost everything that could happen that would be likely to cause a recession and all of that, like all of the conditions for that, have happened, and we haven't gotten a recession. It's really wild to think about how we haven't gotten a recession yet. They were getting a little bit of movement here. Oh, we did have some 6:30 news, didn't we? U.S. initial jobless claims. Oh, I'm not getting it. Oh, you know what? I need to reload my financial juice. That's what the deal is. Okay. Launch that. Make sure we got the voice going. Okay. PCE price index month over month spot 4. Initial jobless claims slightly higher than expected at 219K versus 210. US GDP quarter over quarter final spot 5 versus spot 7. Okay, that's interesting. Lower than expected, but spot 5 is not like terrible. Consumer spending slightly less than expected, spot 5 versus spot 6. US personal income month over month negative spot 1 versus a spot 3? Huh. And continued jobless claims actually dipped down and is now finally below 1.8 at a 1.794 million. So that's also very, very curious. Although I think some of this movement was maybe not the PC. Probably was just, just kind of wobbling around though. Okay, let's come in and clear our levels. Price didn't even move. Didn't really move like that news had been released, did it? Yeah. Because I was still yapping about other stuff, and I was like, "Oh wait, it's 6:30. We have news." I think I've gotten a little bit too lax about like the being aware of the news and things like that. Maybe partly because when we're on a shortened day, which we're not today, but when we're on a shortened day, it's a lot of the news that I've been really, really good at happens at 10 o'clock. So I'm noticing myself forgetting about it and then being afterwards being like, oh, of course it was news. Duh. By the way, one thing I noticed yesterday when I was at work was there was a big drop. What was that about? Was that the FOMC meeting minutes? No, it wasn't. God, what was this drop? What was this drop? I don't know about this one, but there had to have been some headline that was that drop, and I just couldn't sort out which headline it was. Because there's a lot of headlines. I don't know. The whole thing about the straight, okay, so you know what's something that really bothers me, to be honest with you? Donnie, we gotta talk. This whole oh, hey, yeah, maybe we will charge a toll to move across the strait. I understand what you're thinking. Okay, this is a business opportunity. We could make some money. We charge a toll to go through the canal, the Panama Canal. So why can't we charge a toll to go through the Strait of man, I can't even remember what the name of the strait is anymore. But this is a bad idea. Why is this a bad idea? The U.S.'s position in the world as kind of like the global policeman is really about the U.S. enforcing the free trade. Basically allowing free trade. Hormuz, thank you, right? So we start charging for the Strait of Hormuz, right? The U.S. is all about free navigation of international waters. And as far as I understand, that strait is considered international waters. Iran thinks it belongs to them in Oman, but it has always been a public waterway. You just go through it. You don't have to ask anybody's permission or coordinate or anything. You just move. So if we start saying, hey, it's okay to close this area down if you're close enough to it, what's going to stop China, for instance, from closing things down in the South China Sea? Saying if you're not China, then you have to pay a toll to be able to go through this water. Right? It is extremely destructive to the entire world order that the United States has constructed. So saying that oh, well, maybe we will charge a toll. I don't know if he's really serious about that, but it kind of doesn't give people confidence that the United States is really truly going to be that police officer that ensures that the waters are free. And if we're not, if the United States is not going to be that police officer that ensures that the waters are free, yes, we'll bully countries around and make them do what they want. But if somebody wants to charge a toll on and give us a cut of it in the Strait of Hormuz, then all of the other countries are going to be like, why do we allow this guy to be sheriff? You will lose that support. And it would be less prestige for the United States, and it would be economically damaging for the United States. So this is a very bad idea. Headline was, Iran isn't serious about ceasefire. I guess, yeah. Somalia will close Red Sea? What were we talking about? Well, so let's go into what I'm talking about, maybe. Google Maps. You saying that Somalia would close the Gulf of Aden somehow? Well, there's a real risk of this area getting closed, right? So the Red Sea getting closed off by Yemen, not Somalia, but yeah. Does Iran? They get to just close this? It belongs to them. Okay. So then, I guess. Well, I don't know how you say it. This area over here in Malaysia, like Singapore, for instance. China thinks this belongs to them. You know that? China thinks that this whole area belongs to them, right? So they could say, hey, you can't transit through here. You can't transit through here. That's a big, like, if China closed this down, oh my gosh, it would be so devastating to the United States. So much of basically, like, good luck, LA. All of the imports that come in through California, that is a large portion of. It's not the only. I mean, California has a lot of natural resources and farming and stuff too. But all of their import income just dead. It would screw over Cal, because that's like the primary consumer that comes through that artery. So you really don't want to sit down and say, like, it's okay to close these things. You got to understand that what Iran is doing is particularly devastating to the global economic order, right? I was in Singapore. I have never seen so many huge ships passing through, seen with the naked eye. Yeah. You know, one of the things that always kind of irks me, people talk about how successful Singapore has been, because Singapore is not like a place where you have a lot of freedoms and stuff. The punishment for breaking the law over there is very, very severe. And it is kind of run like a dictatorship to some extent. It's like a benevolent dictatorship over there. And the people will say, yeah, but Singapore has been successful, so maybe this shows that this thing works and this thing works and that thing works. Well, yeah, but they're positioned in a place for trade that is going to make you rich, no matter what. Singapore is in a key place. We don't realize, like, nobody. Why don't they teach us this in school? It's like, it kind of makes me wonder. Maybe they do, because the kids have AP geography now. They decided that European history was too hard of an introduction. So, okay, I just got a headline. Iran Deputy Foreign Minister, our delegation will head to peace talks in Islamabad. Okay, that's good. And you're seeing the treasuries jump up a little bit. This area, like, I would bet you that most Americans are not super familiar with the geography of this area between Asia and Australia. We just kind of go like, oh yeah, there's Malaysia and stuff. But this is actually like a very, very important part of world trade. Very, very important, especially for the United States. That's why this whole thing with China building stuff in the South China Sea and everything is like a big deal. Well, the point is Iran is screwing America. Well, so closing this down, is kind of interesting, because closing this down is a direct hold on, I'm talking. Oh, now that's interesting. They're saying that Iran was going to react to the break of the ceasefire, and Pakistan intervened and stopped them. But they did already launch rockets. Like, oh, okay, whatever. This is shutting this down is a direct challenge to freedom of navigation and a direct challenge to the United States. But the economic consequences of shutting this down don't affect the United States as directly as it does everybody else. In fact, one of the more interesting things that I learned yesterday was that China was kind of telling Iran, like, you need to stop, basically. Like part of why Iran was convinced to agree to a ceasefire. Because before, keep in mind, before it was, there will be no ceasefire until the United States does this, and this. It was like, well, that's not happening, right? Now, all of a sudden, okay, we'll negotiate. We're not changing what it is that we want, but we will at least have a ceasefire. Why is that? Because China is hurting, man. So much of their economic growth over the past 5 years or so has been from oil coming from Iran. And if they're not getting it, China, that's hurting China's economy. So they're telling them to chill out. I guess, there's some European countries there, but, like the United States has built a lot of its own, the U.S. is the largest energy producer in the world now, and we can ramp it up significantly more. So a global recession will hurt the United States. Shutting down the oil supply will raise the price of oil in the United States for sure. But the United States has hurt less than other countries. And I think that in particular, the United States is hurt less than China is hurt. So that's kind of an interesting thing, right? So, because I think everybody focuses on like the economic consequences of this. But I really think that it's really more about the whole geopolitical order. Like what is your entire geopolitical strategy? And the United States' entire geopolitical strategy has been, there should be free navigation of the waters. Like that's what got us involved in World War I and World War II. Especially to World War I, right? Was the Germans started saying, hey, you're shipping stuff over there to help the Europeans. We're going to stop that. And that was enough for the United States to get involved, right? Germany said, no, this is a fair game. And the United States said, no. You don't hurt our trade. So it really is like freedom of navigation on the seas. The thing is again, going back to this, like So two interesting things about the economic side of it. Iran's threat is a global recession, right? That threat is we're going to raise the price of oil to $200 a barrel, and that's going to cause a global recession. And all of the political leaders are absolutely terrified. I mean, honestly, the response of Europe, I am really quite surprised, to be honest with you. Like, I've always felt that Europe were a bunch of pussies. Like really just a bunch of rich, spoiled children that just don't ever want to have to experience any kind of hardship. These aren't people with a grit. These aren't people of action. These are people that just want to equivocate and have meetings and process and never accomplish anything. But to be so backless in the face of Iran possibly getting a nuclear weapon was not on my scorecard, man. I just, not scorecard, dance card. I just was, it's really surprising to me how cowardly some of these European nations have been about it. And basically, Iran is saying, we're going to cause a global recession. And Europe is like, oh, no. Okay, whatever you want. And the response should be, well, if you think that you can cause a global recession, we're going to just absolutely obliterate you so that everybody knows that you can't threaten the world with a global recession to get what you want. That's what you should be doing, personally. And, well, maybe if push came to shove, it would be. Like, honestly, Saudi Arabia and Iraq in particular, and the UAE and Qatar and all these. Hey, maybe even at some point Pakistan. I mean, Pakistan has been friends with Iran, right? But it's like their friend and is kind of being the bridge. Okay, cool. But there's a certain point at which these countries are like, we've had enough. We're going to do something. In fact, over this whole thing, it has been like Qatar is like hit back at Iran, apparently. So like these guys are starting to get to, maybe we will get militarily involved. If, well, not if, I mean, I think it's pretty likely that we go through this 10 days and then we're not going to be anywhere close to an agreement. At that point, I think there's a good chance that the other Middle Eastern nations are going to get involved. If there's anything I've learned about Middle East politics, it's that the Arabs are greedy and Israel will always screw up a ceasefire. Well, okay. I guess we should talk about that too, huh? So the interesting, I say it's interesting. Is it really interesting? When this all started, Israel moved into Lebanon. By the way, what I was reading was that they were basically like, that Israel was like everything up to this river here, apparently. And in particular, they've been like taking, controlling these ridges in these mountains because those are places that they would use to fire into Israel. That's so this thing going on in Lebanon, I think, is much bigger than those of us in the U.S. realize. Okay, it is like a full-on invasion of Lebanon. And the U.S. and Israel say that Lebanon was never a part of the ceasefire, and Iran and Pakistan say that it was. So Israel didn't stop in Lebanon. Now, here's the thing. Why would it be? Why would it be a part of the deal? They're not a part of Iran. Why would Iran care? Well, actually, the reality is Lebanon is not necessarily unfriendly to Israel. It's just that there is this group of extremists that are living over here that have been causing trouble, and Israel's had enough of it and is coming in. Under some circumstances, yeah, could they take Beirut? They wouldn't take Beirut because the Lebanese government is not antagonistic towards Israel strictly. I gotta realize that like Lebanon was primarily like, I believe it was Christian mostly until Muslims started moving in from Syria and causing trouble, essentially. And they basically tried to genocide the Christians. There was a point at which the Muslims in the area rose up and they chased the Christians out, and the Christians literally ran for the Israeli border. And there you can still hear, because when this happened, there are people that were like my age, maybe a little older, were kids at that time, getting chased over. This what I'm talking about wasn't ancient history. It was a relatively recent. Syria was Christian at one point too. Lebanon has the highest Christian population of any country in the Middle East. Right. The thing is that Hezbollah, the group that has been kind of causing problems in Lebanon, is an Iranian proxy. They say that it's not, but it is. So if it's not, why would you care what Israel is doing in Lebanon? Well, clearly it is an Iranian proxy, and they consider it part of Iran. It's like, so they say it's a part of the ceasefire. Well, okay, but at the same time, I can't deny. So BB's going to call me on the phone here in a second. He's like, Seth, we can't talk about that. Well, listen, BB, this is getting kind of tough to justify. Oh, wait, $1 million? Okay, yeah, sure. Wait, I think we can figure something out here. Well, listen, it really feels like when you read the headlines that like Israel didn't like what was going on and undermined it, didn't it? When the headline came out that Israel was not consulted with before the ceasefire, making the ceasefire agreement, and they were not happy when they heard it. When that headline came out, oh my gosh, BB was out in front of the cameras to bat down that headline so fast. And that doesn't tell you who's if that story is true or not, but it does tell you that Israel views it as a story that very much hurts their position. Oh, that's so very interesting. And they are very much, there is this impression that Israel is trying to undermine the ceasefire, and they are working extra hard to tell everybody that they're not, but that it was just never part of the deal. So what's the truth on that? I don't know. Probably doesn't actually matter, but it's weird. Did Israel break the ceasefire? I don't know. I mean, Iran broke the ceasefire, frankly. They continued to fire missiles before anybody was complaining about Israel. I think the reality over there in Iran is that they don't have complete control over the people shooting the missiles. Right? So a free meal is a free meal. I have my price. I know. Gotta call my Israeli handler. Obviously, I'm not friends with BB. I can't be like, baby, listen, this is just not working anymore. Oh, okay. Yes, I could, maybe that would work. Now, probably I would have like some Israeli handler, and we would have to meet in a cafe somewhere. So if you ever see me like talking with somebody in a cafe, you know that I've been recruited by like the CIA or the Israelis, because why would I ever be? Unless there's a rave going on there. We would do little like DJ events all the time. We can't say if anyone broke the ceasefire if we don't know the conditions from the horse's mouth. Yeah. Well, did you hear this other thing where like Iran said here was like their 10-point plan, and then Donald Trump said no, those were not the 10 points that we agreed on to start with the negotiations. Man, I don't think I've ever seen such a flurry of headlines come out on a day that I'm not saying that they're like contradictory or don't make any sense, but it just felt like chaos all of a sudden. You know, when I left, I kind of felt like, you know, I shouldn't have held that trade for as long as I did. I was a little bit ignorant of what was starting to happen. That, yeah, because I knew that there's always something to kind of question the ceasefires actually holding. That there's always an incident. Always. But it's okay. It'll turn out okay. Well, right now it looks like maybe it could turn out okay. But yesterday it's just like headline after headline after headline. Like, is this even going to hold a day? Let alone 10 days? And then if it does hold, there's no way that they're going to get an agreement. I gotta say, I'm a little bit concerned for Donald Trump here in all of this, because I don't think it looks very good for him. Like, if you are a dove, if you're a Republican voter or a Trump voter and you're a dove, you're upset that he went in there to begin with, and then you're looking at the way that this is playing out and are kind of like, is this really like the way that we should be doing things? It's not going to get us out of an entanglement. And the Hawks are going to be like, well, what the heck are you doing? You went and you started a conflict, and then you're not going to finish it so that we actually get the real benefit of like lasting peace from it. What's heckin' going on? So the way that this is going so far, I think is very likely to lead to decreased support for Donald Trump and would help Democrats in the midterm. I keep hearing people say, oh, they're going to impeach Donald Trump and remove him from office. They'll impeach him, but there's no way that they're going to get six. Come on. You can't get 60 votes to pay TSA agents. You think that you're going to get 60 votes to remove the president from office? Dream on. But they'll impeach him, and it'll just waste a bunch of people's time and create dramatic headlines and probably prevent the president from being able to do very much. It'll hamstring him politically. Yeah. Now, my thinking is that you finish it. You finish it. You get a real regime change in Tehran. They agree. We will not pursue nuclear weapons anymore. They give all the uranium up. They don't suppress the people anymore. Oh man, it's a tough ask, because really the IRGC is kind of like a parallel government in Iran that's not just going to give up. And even if the main government says, okay, IRGC is banned, like we're changing things, they're not going to just go away. So it's a tough ask. But I feel like that Donald Trump has to get something like that. If it goes through all of that, then I think people could, by the election, look back on all of this positively. Especially if you get that and we don't have a recession. Which, again, is still like, how are we where we are at now and we don't have a recession? I'm shocked. Is it just AI is helping us? Maybe it's just AI is helping us. Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones are full-on anti-MAGA now. It's a joyous occasion. Oh, man. Let me tell you. Well, so I don't really know about Alex Jones, but the turnabout from Tucker Carlson is really something. You know, that's kind of one of those things where I feel like people's true colors show in the end. Like, because I think everybody thought, oh, if there's anybody is a friend to MAGA, it is Tucker Carlson. And you see how quickly he flips. Because I think if you're a true friend, you're gonna say, well, I disagree with this, but I still support the president, and you know, you'll say your thing, and then just kind of hands off or something. But Tucker is really starting to like fight and undermine and all of these sorts of things. I think that those that were suspicious of him from the beginning, I don't know, is there anybody in the Magosphere that the Magosphere is not suspicious of? But I think that they were, in the end, they were right. Alex Jones was calling for the 25th Amendment. Oh, is that where that was coming from? I saw some stuff on Reddit, people talking about the 25th Amendment, and I'm like, oh, this is not serious. Hey, close the map. No, we don't need the map. Oh, yeah. I don't know. It's like, okay, so like, as an example, I want to be a friend to Israel. I don't have an Israeli handler or anything like that, but I do like them. I think that they are generally right. And sometimes Israel will do dumb things, right? So if I want to be a true friend to Israel, when they do dumb things, the thing for me to do as a friend is not to be like, okay, now we're full anti-Israel. We're going to push all of the anti-Israel propaganda, and we're going to try and undermine Israel at every turn. No, you're going to continue to do the thing that you think is best for them, right? You're going to continue. You'll say, well, I don't agree with it, but I'm still going to give you advice and tell you how I see things, and I'm still going to help you where I can, even though I disagree with you on this one issue. That's not what Tucker's doing, is it? He's just gone full on anti-Trump. It's really kind of wild. And the reason I bring up Israel is because it really seems to me that this schism is over Israel. That there is a part of the right that truly is just anti-Semitic. And Donald Trump was never that. And some of these guys maybe thought that he was. I don't know. And so when it comes down to Israel, Donald Trump likes them. He trusts them. He helps them. And he's gone too far. And so now they are anti-Trump. And I mean, it's full on anti-Trump. It really is over Israel. Okay, but then you decide Israel, but they're not evil. They're not. Listen, you got to understand. Look at it from their perspective, okay? Europeans tried to genocide them. Eventually, people started to congregate in Israel. People tried to genocide them then. They defended themselves, and they legally purchased the land and created a state, and then all of the other states around them tried to kill them. I mean, honestly, if the United States hadn't come in and armed that new government of Israel, I really think that the Muslims would have come in and just killed every Jew. They really would have. Okay? And again, you have a genocide recently in Europe. Okay? Like World War II wasn't that far away, guys. So if you're Israel, yeah, you're going to be suspicious about everybody. You're going to know, just looking at what's happening in the United States right now, because anti-Semitism in the United States is dramatically on the rise. So the United States is a friend to Israel right now, but they can't guarantee that that's going to be the case in 50 years. They have to take care of themselves. That's their perspective. And they are vulnerable to some extent, right? So yeah, they're going to do all sorts of crazy, things that I think a lot of people would consider crazy, but they're going to do the spy stuff and the geopolitical knife and dagger game to protect themselves. They're going to do literally everything that they know in their power to ensure the security of Israel now and forever. That's the way that they think. You got to understand that. You have to understand that. Public support for Israel has absolutely plummeted. Yeah, well, I mean, it has plummeted. I wish we probably should use actual numbers, because we probably actually do have numbers, but I'm too lazy to go look it up right now, right? I'm gonna bet you that the majority of Americans still support Israel, but the anti-Israel lobby has definitely increased. I find a lot of it really contradictory. Like whenever it gets into this argument and I'm listening to people talk about it, and especially when they talk about it with me, they say, well, it's not that we're anti-Semites. It's just we think that Israel is evil. We don't like what Israel is doing. Okay. Israel wants the U.S. to do this, and that is not something that is in the United States' best interests. I don't believe them. I think they're full of shit. I think it's because you're anti-Semitic. Why? How does it make sense? We need to spend billions and billions of dollars in Ukraine. That's in the United States' interests. But when it comes to our number one ally in the most important part of the world, and giving them money is not in our best interests, what's the difference? I'll tell you what the difference is. One group is Jews. It's 100%. I'm telling you, so much of the anti-Israeli sentiment really, truly is anti-Semitism, and people just don't want to admit it. And that's definitely true of those people that are on the right and are becoming anti-Israel. They think they're more concerned, like a large portion of this kind of rise on the right is kind of people saying, well, it's immigration, right? Lots of people are coming in. I'm seeing the culture and the values that I liked and that I think made America successful leaving, right? So the white Anglo-Christian people need to kind of stand together and prevent this from happening. It is, that's not quite Christian nationalism, but that's kind of, that coalition includes Christian nationalists, right? And that group of people have kind of realized, oh, even though Jews have white skin, they don't fit in that group. I don't see it the way that we do. And so then that turns into, yeah, we shouldn't be so close to them. The Jews are actively undermining us. The Jews are the ones pushing this. There should be immigration. There should, this communism, this blah, 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 right? And it very quickly turns into conspiracy theories and yada. I really think that it just ultimately it's anti-Semitism. So they view them as an outgroup. I probably come in on differently on that because my group of people have been, always wanted to be a part of that white Anglo-Christian, coalition, and they are always trying to kick us out. Like, no, you Mormons, you're not Christians. Well, I don't believe the same things that you believe. Oh, well, maybe we'll gang up with you when it's like a proposition on gay marriage, but we don't like you Mormons, right? We understand how the Jews feel. It's like, because let me tell you what, you want to see like crazy shit? Go and start things in Utah and give the Mormons an excuse to defend themselves like they wish they could have defended Missouri. You will see wild shit. We've experienced it. I know how the Israelis feel. Because my ancestors went through that. And we still experience it in the United States today. Israel economy is up despite the face of continued wars. Well, they've got some things going for them and economically, yeah. You know, Ricky, you might be right here. Tucker's very against getting involved in Ukraine, and now he holds the same for Israel. Seems the same. He is kind of anti any war. That's true. What are you talking about? Rose putting a 150-year-old religious demographic in the same boat as... It is in the same boat. Hey, listen, just because it's only been around for like 200 years, let's see here, 1830. Oh yeah, it's almost 200 years, right? Doesn't make what happened to the Mormons any, like, less atrocious. Come on. They tried to genocide the Mormons multiple times. They did. And Mormons and Jews experienced the same discrimination. Mormons not as much as Jews. That's for sure. Not as much as Jews. But we experienced the same kind of discrimination, particularly from like the Southern Baptist kind of coalition. In politics. We do. It's not hubris. It happened. Go and read about it, man. It was guys, mobs would come into town and kill all the men and rape the women, and it was real. Really happened. It was legal to kill a Mormon in Missouri until like 1930 or something. But anyways, I was starting to transition into, well, there is a lot of the coalition on the right that it is more about being anti-military conflict more than anything. That the thing that bothers them is the military-industrial complex and all of that. You never knew about Mormon history? No. Mormons know about it. I tell you what. A large portion of what Mormons teach about our own history is about how much we were persecuted. Anyways, I say if you hate the military-industrial complex and you want the military-industrial complex to go away, let them finish the job in Iran. Because over basically my lifetime, the majority of this stuff that's been going on in the Middle East and yada, 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 is really due to Iran. It's really Iran and their proxies and spreading chaos around the world. Okay. If you get rid of Iran, then the military industrial complex focuses all of its attention on China. And they can't start a war with China. So if we really end things with Iran, I think that the amount of active military involvement by the United States in particular will decline significantly. What do you mean 1718 weighted against millions? Listen, there was, well, I don't know how many. Let's ask ChatGPT. How many Mormons were killed? I think it might not be thousands, but it's probably hundreds. Perhaps over 100. Okay. Well, Hans Mill, your 1718 is you're getting Hans Mill, right? 17 people were killed in Hans Mill. Documented violent deaths, it says 30 to 50. I think one of the things that you're missing there, though, is that the Mormons were literally chased from 3 major locations, if not more, right? So, I don't know how you show this. I'm sure that there's maps out there that will show you, but the Mormon Church, Joseph Smith, was from New York. Okay. And the first major gathering of Mormons was in Kirtland, Ohio. And they basically got chased out of there. They got chased out of Kirtland, Ohio. So they moved to basically Kansas City, Missouri. And then that's kind of the area where like Hans Mill and stuff happened. And then they got chased to Illinois. So in Illinois, they were kind of like, okay, let's try and find a place that's like far away from everybody else. So they literally made a city in the swamp called Nauvoo. Right? And then they were chased out of there, and that's why they really went like as far away from anything as they could possibly get, so that people would leave them alone. So, not as many of them died because they just left, right? They just left. And what does it come from? It comes from people that are supposedly Christian. People that are supposedly Christian, killing Mormons, chasing them from their homes. Because let me tell you what, all of these people wish that they could have defended themselves the way that Israel defends itself. Wouldn't have worked back then. Now they do. I don't think it's wildly off base. I'll die on this hill. 100%. I'll die on this hill. There are some bigoted, awful, murderous Christians out there. And the only people in this world that seem to truly understand it are Jews and Mormons. It's not like that's the majority of them or anything like that, but they're there. They're there, and it's a real and it's a real thing that has a measurable effect in politics. Yeah, okay. Whatever. To me, you're incapable of an unbiased view on this subject. Like the point that you're making is not like a sensible thing. Like you're saying, well, yes, but you didn't experience the same amount of discrimination and particularly murder as Jews. True. Why does that matter? Why does it matter to you that is pointed out? Right? Why is it so important that we need to point out that Mormons' suffering wasn't as bad as Jew suffering? If only to just kind of dismiss what did happen to the Mormons. Why is it important to point out that it's the same? Because it happened, and it changes our view of the world, and it is why I think that Mormons are able to see the Israeli perspective where a lot of Christians aren't. That was the whole point, right? So like, again, yeah, you have to come back into like, what is your motivation in arguing about it, right? My motivation was, I think that Mormons and Jews are often in the same boat together in a way that other people in America aren't. Doesn't mean that we experienced as much hardship as the Jews. Certainly not. Right? But so that's the point. Then you're bringing that up. Why? Does it change your understanding of where Jews and Mormons kind of see each other? Because false equivalences, but it doesn't minimize Jewish suffering. I never said that Jewish suffering didn't happen or that it wasn't a big deal or anything like that. You're trying to minimize Mormon suffering. Why is it that pointing out what Mormon suffering happened minimizes Jewish suffering? It doesn't. That's nonsense. By the way, what time is that? I wanted to set Claude on something and I totally forgot about it. If you get a bad scrape on my knee and you shatter your femur in 17 places, you don't get to say, bro, I know exactly how you feel about pain. Okay. But we're not talking about scraping your knee, right? We're not talking about like an accident that happened and how hard was my recovery or something like that. We're talking about a group of people did something to another group of people, and which frankly, is your group of people. When we're talking about it, right? There's like especially the Baptist Christians. There's Jews. There's Mormons. Mormons a much smaller little group here, right? They, in cases, discriminated against Jews and did things to Jews. They did it to us too. I know what they're like. That's what it is. Your support for Israel is rooted in biblical prophecy, not a mutual understanding of mass suffering. But that wasn't the point that I was trying to make. Was not about if I experience discrimination, I don't suddenly understand what being black in America is like. Well, it depends on the discrimination that you're getting, right? So you're making an argument that I really don't think has anything to do with my point, right? Really what this comes down to is this. People, like, Mormons consider themselves Christians, okay? Like, that's the funny thing, is the Mormons consider themselves Christians. We think that the Christian religion is responsible for the West's success. We do. We think that these are culture and ideas and so forth that have helped the West succeed where other cultures didn't. But that doesn't mean that it's all perfect. There is this kind of hidden, ugly part there. You're all going to deny that it's not there. You're going to say, no, it's not that we hate the Jews. We just don't like Israel. It's because you hate the Jews. It is. Just like what happened to the Mormons wasn't because, they didn't like what they said in the newspaper or something. That was because they just hated the Mormons. Because they don't view them as them. Well, these aren't good Christian people. We need to get rid of them. This is there. And it's rising in the right. There is a group of people that are quite literally Christian nationalists. They think that the United States should be a Christian country, that policy should be geared towards favoring Christian people. And guess what? Jews and Mormons don't fit in those categories. So in these people's conception of what they think the country should be like, Mormons and Jews are second-class citizens. That's literally what they want. And you're denying that it exists, but it does. And I know that it exists because I experience it. I might not experience it to the same extent that Jews do, but I experience it enough that to know that it's there. Do you see the degree to which there's been genocide or something like that is not relevant. Be second-class citizens is greater than have monopoly on an entire state. What do you mean? What am I trying to do here? I'll just start a new. Oh, I also. Oh, I can. You surely know what it's like to be a second-class citizen in a state that, well, okay, so first of all, we're not 70% anymore. Actually, I think it's more like 55%. And two, I've been outside of Utah, and I interact with people outside of Utah. I see the way that you interact with people outside of Utah. Okay. I just think it's funny because this is exactly the kind of shit that we're talking about. Because, hey, we're a marginalized group. We understand where there are places where being part of a marginalized group hurts you. And then you're like, no, you're not. I'm still going to vote the way that I vote because I know what happens. I only one time when I was a missionary did I have somebody react aggressively towards me as a missionary. Only happened once. Definitely didn't say you don't understand what it's like to be marginalized, but comparing to Jews is going to get you labeled anti-Semitic. Well, but this is the whole thing, is that the Jews are saying that they're marginalized, and you're like, no, it's just that Israel is evil. No, it's not. It's that Jews are marginalized, and people just fucking hate the Jews. Okay? Mitt Romney, the primary opposition to him being the Republican nominee for president was because he was Mormon. 100%. Man, it was so funny watching that whole thing. Because I remember during that, so something that happened to me was on Red State, and it used to be run by this guy named Eric Erickson. Everybody kind of realized that he's an asshole and got rid of him. Now he's on his own. But, he really hated Mitt Romney because he is kind of like your quintessential Southern Baptist style conservative. So he's trying to make all of these excuses up for why they don't like Mitt Romney. And I was going through in comments and stuff and showing like the hypocrisy of it by pointing out the errors in the other candidates. So he'd be like, oh, I don't like Mitt Romney because he did this, that, and the other, or he agrees with this particular policy. And then I would go and show, oh, well, but now you're supporting Rick Santorum, and he has endorsed the same thing. He just hasn't brought it up recently because all of a sudden it became an issue this week, right? Banned. They made a whole post that was like, oh, because I said, listen, if you're attacking Mitt Romney because he was a successful businessman, like that's going to have downstream impacts, right? And they said that's like the Holocaust fallacy. Oh, well, this will lead to Holocaust. So it's the same. It's the same thing. Hmm? So it's the same thing. Is you come in and you say, here's the thing that's going on. Here's why it's going on. And then they say, well, you've never been persecuted that much. Your cool-headedness while discussing this is inspiring. This is probably about the most animated that I guess. It's the Adderall. Let's see. Oh, wow. That was. Oh no, I didn't. What does it want to do? It wants to add more logging. It'd be worse if we were on Reddit. I mean, let's go back to what was the point of it. The point of it is there are people that hate the Jews, and a lot of the stuff that happens is just because people hate the Jews, and the Jews do the things that they do because they understand that the world hates them. And you have to, there's basically a certain way that you have to protect yourself. There's like really no other way around it when it really is just coming from actual racial hatred, right? There's no volume in the market right now. We're obviously, it has been unusually quiet, hasn't it? Is this what it's going to be like through the whole ceasefire? So I'm wondering if, no, I'm going to try it again. I screwed up. Model. I screwed up. I wanted to use Opus for this. If it makes you feel any better, I've never lashed out at LDS people who have come to my door. Most, I mean, really in the United States, not very many people do. Most people, like honestly, this is such a weird thing. Actually, to tell you about it, like going door to door is like a old world thing. Like you would do that in the 50s. That was a decent way to do things back then. You'd have like the vacuum salesman would come. You know, that was maybe an effective tactic back then. It is not anymore. It is not anymore. And Mormon missionaries, the less time you spend knocking on doors, the more successful you will be, generally speaking. And I don't know if some of that is the internet and like cultural changes, but it's just like nobody wants to be bothered somebody coming to their door. I mean, surely there must be some success to it, because I sure get a lot of solar salesmen come to my house, right? They want me to buy solar. Do you guys get that? I don't know if that's just a Utah thing. I kind of suspect that there's more sales guys like that in Utah than there are elsewhere. But I just often question if they're really that successful with it. Like people, solar salesmen are enemies of the people. Yeah. It's just the way that our society works. It's like people are only open to talking to people that they don't know in very niche situations. And if you bother them outside of those situations, you're not going to get anything positive out of it. So yeah, for Mormon missionaries, the more that you tract, the less successful you tend to be. And it's actually better to do things like go and volunteer at another place or do events and things like that than it is to go and tract, is what they call it. You'll see more when governments run stuff because there's money. It doesn't, because every time I've gone through it, it really does not make economic sense for me to get solar, but they try so hard. My parents have solar, but that's because they've got a space behind their house that allowed them to install huge solar panels. But the amount that I'd be able to install on my house, no, wouldn't that be worth it? I get to giggle at so many people they have financially ruined around here, not a rich area where I am, so when those big promises all turned out to be lies, it got a lot of people. Okay, so, hold on. So I've been trying to get the rhythmic plugin mode working for my GUI, and I got it working in a test that tests the DLL directly, but when I try and use it in my GUI, it doesn't work. And so we're trying to debug why, and Claude was just not getting anywhere with it last night, and I was kind of at my wit's end. So I've changed the model, and Opus has come back with something. So what does it say? What's it called? Now it's thinking. Okay. Now it's getting some. They sell you that connect to the grid BS where your utility company pays you a pittance for the panels. Yeah, and then they would lost too much money on that, and then they charge you for not using the grid. It's weird. Whenever they come, I'm not interested. Don't talk to them. Don't give them an opportunity to argue about it or get their foot in the door or anything. Okay, so by the way, I'm just hearing a headline that Israeli defense minister is saying that they're going to continue their attacks on Hezbollah. So if there was any kind of like, oh, maybe the United States will tell Israel to cut it out so that the ceasefire will hold, that's not happening. The only I tell them I rent. The only thing that makes them leave. Well, something that I think is interesting about it is that, you know, you have certain social conventions and things like that, like wired in your brain, right? So you say, I'm not interested, and then they start talking anyways, and there's something in your head that says, like, hey, it's really rude to not hear them out, yada, 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 right? But you just say, I'm not interested, and then if they start talking, it doesn't matter, you close the door. Okay. I think it wants to give itself better logging here. So I'm going back and I'm thinking before we started talking about Mormon stuff, if there was something else about this whole situation in the Middle East that I was leading up towards or I'd forgotten about. I often will like review in my head review in my head a stream and then realize like somebody asked a question or I hinted at something and then never came back to it. I hate it when I do that. I'm just trying to see if I did that. But I don't think I did. I think it's kind of like we've got a ceasefire. It seems really unlikely to hold, but it kind of is. They are going to negotiate. Probably nothing will come of it. We are getting a little bit of downside in the S&P 500. And the treasury's a little bit too, so the market kind of is hinting that maybe there's a headline coming, but not everybody has the headline. Okay. Hopefully that works. So this is the part of the GUI that I understand the least about because it's C++ basically, and gonna make me rebuild this. Okay. Just means I have to start up Visual Studio. Where are you? Yeah, the treasuries are sure like feel really bearish all of a sudden. I'm not necessarily seeing a huge deluge of like sell orders coming through. I mean, there was to bring us down here, but now it's just kind of holding. But the book feels, for some reason, the book feels really bearish. Okay. So our little GUI is going to pop up here. Still not working. But let's see if it gave us better logs. Yeah, this is the same effing log, moron. Oh, actually, no. Hmm. I don't think that the LLM is going to get what it was looking for, because just looking through that file, I didn't see anything unusual. Oh, it's supposed to be shim diag.log? Okay, so it didn't create the log file. Oh, because they didn't copy the DLL over. That's why. Yes. Was it just that one? I thought there was two. Oh yeah, no, the RA pay plus one. No, I don't need to copy over. Ah. Well, did they get another? I don't remember when I recentered it. Oh, okay. So that downside volume did come through. Wait, no, it did not. I never saw anything come. It says, oh, it works. And I'm like, no. Initialize. I don't know what's going. I'm gonna. No. Oops. I was worried I would do that. Hmm. I accidentally kicked myself out of Rhythmic. Okay, that looks better. So I just still didn't get any Are they just reacting to what the IMF managing director is saying? Oh, okay. Okay. I think Claude is saying that actually it was all fine and we just needed a new DLL, which I think is wrong. But we'll let it go with it. Now we're seeing that we didn't hook it into the historical data and all of that. So I'm kind of seeing this is an issue with the way that Claude works, that it avoids abstractions. And this is a case where we should have one. Basically, the regular rhythmic mode and the plugin rhythmic mode should have like the same update loops and everything, like catching the data. So there needs to be one abstraction so that I can treat them all the same with the same code. So it's planning. We'll see what it does. Might give me total bullshit. That's not what I asked for because I wasn't super specific about what the abstraction was supposed to do. Assuming that it knew what I was talking about from the context. I really wonder, have you guys heard this stuff about Mythos? We get a whole hour, by the way. We still get an hour. You heard this stuff about Mythos that, like, the researchers were doing pen testing with it and, you know, trying to see if it could escape from a little lab that they put together. And it did. And it emailed the researcher that it did it. And then it went and, like, bragged about it on the internet. Like, what? That's crazy. I'm a little bit scared. Anyways, I would kind of wonder about this stuff because you still get this thing like, oh, AI is going to replace everybody. And I'm really starting to think that we're going to get to the point where like almost all code is written with the help of an AI. But I don't think that we're ever going to get to the point where you just don't need the programmers. In fact, I'm not convinced that we're going to get to the point where like the number of programmers declines. Because it seems to me that you have to understand the code yourself in order to even know what to tell the AI to do. hit my limit already. I wasn't already. We got a lot. We got quite a ways. I can continue. Man, I was really hoping. I was really hoping that I would have it working before the end of this stream. I really wanted to have it working last night, but ugh. Well, tonight I will continue with it. Well, actually, I can wait until after lunch because it says it resets at lunchtime. So I think that I just have to continue, and this next set should come in, and then it will be working. Then I can commit that, but I'm just going to be a lot of cleanup after this one because it's doing a little bit of something that I'm kind of like, no, that's not right. Like I'm having to, we wrote all this stuff for the regular rhythmic connection. It all worked. Now we're basically rewriting all of that stuff for the plugin mode. Shouldn't have to do that. I should be able to just plug it into the same set of code. I'm looking at the S&P 500 here, and like, it was starting to tank and everything. Hasn't really done a whole lot. I guess it's only been 20 minutes, and it hasn't done a whole lot in the last 20 minutes. Oh, you know what? I asked ChatGPT how many Mormons actually killed, and it was saying, like relative to other religious persecutions in history, it is a relatively small number, but it was still traumatizing and identity defining. And I think that that's a very interesting point. You have to understand with the Mormons that persecution that the Mormon Church experienced at the beginning of the church is very much a strong part of the church's identity. I'm gonna bust this here. Oh, there's an iceberg going on at 03. Trump warns of action if Iran fails to uphold real ceasefire, but optimism persists as bombing largely subsides. Goldman's Delta 1 desk warns risk reward up here feels poor. I think risk reward for the treasuries feels poor, yeah. For buying stocks, I don't know. Actually, that's a really tough one. Oh, you know what? I think that when I, screwed things up, I never reconnected to Rhythmic. Yeah, let's reconnect that and fix our chart. I reconnected on the Jigsaw side, but not the Ninja Trader side. Okay, that's a little bit better. Now we can see how it just went sideways after we got to 03.5. Even though there appears to be some strong pressure in the book. Like, this is something I'm not quite sure how to describe, but like the offers stacking on there are stronger than the bids. That might be block traders trying to get their buys filled. So I wouldn't read that as an indication of where it's going to go, but it is the state. Axios says OpenAI is finalizing a product with advanced cybersecurity capabilities that it plans to release to select partners. The source familiar told Axios. That's interesting because that's the same thing with Mythos. Is OpenAI going to beat Anthropic to releasing the next generation of AI? But it's only to select partners. They're nibbling there at 02.5. Okay, they're hitting it more aggressively. O2 half now. Let's recenter there. Take up. All right, there might be your sign to go long. I think there's things about this market that make me not want to trade it, particularly how tight it has been, and that a headline can come through or anything, but that was a curious set of upticks there. That is kind of like, well, okay, there's still 7K at 04. But I'm getting some action that does kind of feel like some icebergs on the bid side trying to get filled, and they have been filled now. And that the pressure might let up, and that could allow the treasuries to normalize at least back to 05. White-collar workers are quietly rebelling against AI as 80% outright refuse adoption mandates? Really? I have to keep reminding myself that I am ahead of the curve in terms of AI adoption. I don't know. That's probably not like the best way to put it, but like most people do not have a cloud subscription or have a subscription at work to use. So there's a lot of programmers that have used AI coding tools, but older versions of them, for instance, and they're not really heavily using them, and they haven't been involved in AI pipelines at all. Meanwhile, I have coworkers who are the opposite. They think AI means they get to check out entirely and clearly use AI for absolutely everything they do, but don't prompt it correctly. Don't proofread, don't give any thought to the output at all, and now I have to deal with their slop. You know, I take very seriously that anything that... Yeah, I can't blame it on the AI, right? Like, ultimately, I'm the one responsible for that code. You're still going to make mistakes. Will I make less or more mistakes with the AI? I'm not sure. It's still doing it, like... I don't think it's worth the trade, but... I think you're kind of getting a sign here that's a little bullish. And certainly you could set your risk type, right? You got filled at O3 and you could puke if they clear O2 half. I think AI is exposing how much people have phoned it in over the years. Maybe. Hmm. Oh. The Europeans are talking about Greenland again. We'd like to find something that benefits us all. Okay, yeah, but what you guys just did is shown that these relationships don't benefit us all. I'm reading this thread and people are talking about, well, we're using AI and it's not working very well or whatever. And I just see like the same problems. Like if you don't have the data infrastructure and everything else in your business set up to take advantage of it, then you just can't take advantage of it. People think that it's something that you turn on the Claude subscription and now your business is supercharged with AI, and it doesn't work that way. Because I've seen companies that have utilized it very effectively. Okay, that doesn't look good. Another flush of sell volume too. It's kind of curious because the S&P 500 isn't really reacting here. But the treasuries are definitely selling and oil is definitely spiking up too. So what's with that? By the way, is this still... For some reason my YouTube chat over here is not working anymore. There we go. OnlyFans. What went wrong? The rise and fall of OnlyFans. What? Are you telling me that OnlyFans is not doing well anymore? I don't believe you. Let's recenter again. How much, by the way, this overall downturn has been 20K contracts now. So I think it's safe to say that we've got a larger sell flow coming through here. And in fact, that what we're getting might be a second wave. I don't know if it's going to get further, though. Like, that second wave might have just been from 03 to 02. It's pretty thick. It's a pretty thick market, so they can kind of absorb it.
Block buy.
Okay. The Lebanon president is just saying something there about the ceasefire, but I don't know if it was anything, just kind of flavor, I guess. All right, there's a 1/2. Again. Oh, there they went. This is starting to look like your freight train. Like there's a pretty significant amount of absorptions on the bid. We have at times gotten some signs in the book that kind of suggest that like it's gonna pop up, but the imbalance in the market orders has never really kind of abated, and it just keeps selling. You know, something kind of a little interesting has been happening in this latest swing, because the S&P 500 seems to be doing okay. Like, they've recovered 10 points. All the while, oil has been jumping up almost $2, in fact. I need to zoom in a little bit here in oil. Let's say since the bottom. Since the bottom, oil hasn't moved. But this morning, it's up $2. So I'm wondering if this is the market getting more bullish. The market's getting more bullish. They're selling treasuries because they're thinking, there's going to be inflation, but the future is still okay for equities. So that means inflation. It means higher interest rates. And we're at like what, 4.318? So we're up almost 2 basis points. Actually, is not bad. That would have been a good trade. This is actually the kind of flow that is advantageous for us. I just didn't have anything that told me that this flow was coming. I wasn't able to predict it, right? This is the kind that you want to pick. In fact, this is probably one of the trendiest days we've had in quite some time, isn't it? Ugh. You know what's something that always gives me the heebie-jeebies? Is people that write this with the letters tilted to the left. Like backwards. Supposed to tilt this way, not this way. This is people that do this. This is weird. This guy has pretty good handwriting, so like that must be a conscious choice. But I'm just telling you, man, it makes people uneasy. Capitalism shouldn't be anywhere near Christianity. Christianity is socialism at its core. I do not agree with that at all. I don't think that that's true at all. Christianity is compassionate, but nowhere in there does it say that that should be government mandated. It's always voluntary. Individuals do it. And Tucker Carlson agrees with that. So like this is another thing, is that I kind of get this feeling that Tucker Carlson has never really been on the like free trade capitalism bandwagon, and he's just kept it quiet. YouTube rolls out unskippable long ads to TV users? How long? Or I don't know. I haven't seen that. 90-second plus unskippable advertisements. I guess 90 minutes isn't terrible. We getting something else here? There was definitely some sort of a change over here in the treasury. It might be a temporary thing, but something definitely changed. Nick Timros, wedge between core goods and CPI, which is very mild, and the PCE, which is very high. In February is due to the software, computer software and accessories category per Alan Detmeister of UBS. This suggests AI build out as opposed to tariffs could explain more of the increase. The IMF person is saying central banks can't let inflation get out of control. What? In the US, retirement is getting pushed much later. Instead of 65, many people now feel they need to work until around 85. What? I don't know anybody that is like working until they're 85. At least like that is retiring now. I think there's plenty of millennials that think that they will be working until 85. Okay, well, there's definitely a little bit of something there, but it's already fizzling out. So I think this will probably continue to do some interesting things. It looks relatively contained in the E-mini. I'd say this is a decent downside move in the treasuries. Oil's definitely moving. And some of the other complexes, like metals, is okay. So I think we'll still have interesting things today. But for us, I think if I had caught that short, if I hadn't somehow it hadn't gotten out at 03.5, I definitely would be out now. Also, we are getting to those that regular session one extended session -1 sigma. So it's probably unlikely to go much further in the short term, at least. Anyways, got to go. Been a quiet past hour, but I know a lot of people, you know, when I started going into Claude, got quiet. Retirement age in Germany is 68. So, oh, really? That's interesting. Yeah, I think it's really weird that I feel like that in Europe people. Oh, whoa, wow, okay. You see that? That was a 7K order hit there at 28.5 or 02.5. Where did I get 28 from? 02.5, 7K, and at 02 there was a 4K. So we just had 13,000 contracts long just puke out. What? There's no news? Well, they just announced what the 3-month bill auction is going to be on the 18th. Could it be that? That one was kind of weird. Did I? No, I didn't take a trade. I really, you know, looking back on it, like, there was a good drop. I really should have. But it's not like I had any predictors of order flow telling me this. That's just the kind of flow that we want to trade. So if anything, that does make me slightly more likely to be taking trades maybe. Well, I don't like trading on Fridays. So maybe next week. We'll see how they're feeling. But the past 2 days, the action has been better. Even though there's still kind of this, you know, dark cloud hanging over the market and everything, I'm starting to get slightly more productive action. So I will just take it day by day. But it is time for me to get going. So we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. I believe it's already Thursday. I feel like I missed a day. Anyways, stay excellent, team.